Good morning, church. Yes, it might be a little warm up here, but it sure feels good compared to last week. That's all I gotta think of. I bet nobody here's ever heard of a band simply known as the Beatles, have you? The truth is that many of our elder members can probably name what is commonly called the Fab Four. Think about it. John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr. Well, did you know those were not the original four members? A lot of people say, what? I didn't even know this either. Now, I bet nobody here knows the original drummer's name, because Ringo was not the original drummer. Ironically, it was on this very day in 1962 that Pete Best, their original drummer, was officially replaced by Ringo Starr. Now, as many of you might have noticed recently, the World Cup was held here in the United States and in Canada and Mexico. World Cup being soccer, for those that don't know. In America, we especially have this problem because here, sports like football, baseball, basketball, those are king. It's like everything else is just second fiddle. If you're talking football, baseball, or basketball, then it's like, that's not a real sport. I remember the first time I watched lacrosse, I'm like, what in the world is that? It's like you're mixing hockey and soccer in the same field. It's confusing. But that's the French word for it, lacrosse. It means it's a mix. Yeah. It's a mix of soccer and hockey. But anyway, for the 6 billion people who live in the rest of the world, the sport we call soccer and they call football is everything to them. You got to imagine, the World Cup is like, imagine the Super Bowl, that it was only held once every 4 years, and it was truly every nation on earth competing against each other. It's a massive thing to the rest of the world. And I've seen firsthand from my travels while in the Navy that soccer may be the only sport that many of those countries have. For those, I guess, that many Gen Z in here right now, we're a little slim, but most Gen Z in here don't recognize. A lot of people, about everybody in here has probably been to the East End and Morristown Walmart. Have they not? About everybody has, whether you wanted to or not. You usually have. Well, what a lot of people don't realize, especially the Gen Z, is where Hobby Lobby and Ross and all that is. There used to be soccer fields there. My mother forbid me from playing American football, but she wanted me to play international football. And that was in what we call the AYSO, the American Youth Soccer Association. Anyway, that was where we played soccer at. It was right there where Hobby Lobby and Ross and all that is now. And I'll never forget that, I was like in between 8 and 10 years old and had to wear knee-high socks and had these big, huge plastic shin protectors on them. I loved playing, but God, I hated it. I was like, as soon as we get done playing, I'd yank them things off and just scratch my shins because, I hated things aggravating. But you had to wear them because you're all the time knocking your knees together against other players. Anyway. But watching the World Cup, I even enjoyed watching the first ever halftime concert they've had for the World Cup, and I still think that's wild. You got to understand, soccer worldwide has been around longer than baseball and football have existed in America. The first soccer governing bodies in Europe and in the Middle East were formed in the 1850s. They've been around a long time. But anyway, I thought it was strange, they have this massive following worldwide. How did they never do concerts until just this year? And you get all kinds of critics and as they call them, Monday morning quarterbacks. Oh, that wasn't no good. They did this wrong or they did that wrong. Oh, it was pretty cool. They even brought, anybody ever heard of Ted Lasso, the show on Apple TV? They even brought the guy that plays him to even do a bit in to act like he's bringing a rookie into the game. Well, that rookie ended up being Justin Bieber. It was cool. But the very first artist they brought out was Madonna. I was like, she's still kicking? Yes, she was. She's still kicking. But again, I geared this for the Gen Z people because they probably don't have no idea. I've got one up there in the booth, but they probably have no idea exactly how old or how long Madonna's been on the scene. It was on this day back in 1986. Her album True Blue had just been number one on the Billboard charts for 5 consecutive weeks. And anybody remember her song "Papa Don't Preach"? It had been number one on charts for 2 consecutive weeks. That was 40 years ago. I was a freshman in high school. That's a long time. And here's another bit of irony. Today, August 16th, is Madonna's 68th birthday. I remember, being that young teenager back then, thinking that she was really hot, watching her on the videos. But I'm thinking she didn't look more over 21 in them, but she was 28 in them videos. Anyway, but I still like she's still kicking. Now, I know the truth is none of us are getting any younger. I get a kick out of my wife. I mentioned it. I might want to join AARP. We're not that old yet. I'm like, honey, we're not spring chickens. We ain't getting no younger. Might as well get some discounts out of it. Anyway, today it might not be very special to most people, but for me personally, it is. Because it was on this day in 1978, a certain boy was born at Morristown Hamlin Hospital, whom I was privileged to be one of the first to hold. Even though I wasn't quite 7 years old yet at the time. Now you got to understand, I spent most of my teenage years in a real life Brady Bunch, and for those that aren't aware, I'm of the younger generation from that 70s TV show. It's basically 2 families merged into one. I had 3 stepbrothers, 2 stepsisters, plus 2 brothers and 1 sister that I shared full maternal and paternal DNA with. And I know it sounds bad, but I've always called, my full brothers and sisters, my real brothers and sisters, and then all my step siblings were like step or bonus ones. But that helped differentiate for people to be like, you said that's your brother, but he don't look nothing like you. I'm like, well, that's, it's my bonus brother. But there were 6 of us boys, plus my real sister, that lived under the same roof as my mother. And I was the eldest of them. 4 bedrooms in that house. So you can imagine, obviously, my mom and my bonus dad had 1 bedroom. My sister had the other one, and then the other 2 bedrooms were between 6 boys. Everybody's like, how come you only wanted 2 kids? I'm like, if you grew up like I did, you do not want to go through that. It's not, some people are great with it, but that's like, no, I ain't putting them through what I went through. Anyway, all of us, even my step siblings and I, we all had great relationships with each other. I'm grateful for that. But my two full brothers and my full sister had an especially bond together with the 4 of us. We would trust each other with things that we wouldn't dare tell anybody else. But it was on this day in 1978 that the youngest of my true siblings was born. And Bronson's not in here, but I'd say it's the same one that he met by mashing his fingers with the desk. They ended up being thick as thieves. Fast forward 20 years, I remember it was like a couple years after I enlisted in the Navy. Both of my real brothers came to visit me at my duty station in Oak Harbor. If anybody's not familiar with Oak Harbor, it's a beautiful little town on a place called Whidbey Island in the middle of the Puget Sound in between Seattle and Vancouver. It's actually the 2nd largest island on the continental United States, second only to Manhattan or Long Island. Anyway, that trip, then when they came out to visit me, it really triggered or spurred a love of traveling in my middle brother. Micah was he was in that, I can't remember how many countries he went to go visit after that, just because he was like, I love it. And I was like, it's cool. I loved it too. It's part of, one of the little things, the tidbits I loved about being in the Navy, so I get to travel. But My baby brother, though, it really spurred his curiosity. He dead serious in his eyes, so I took it that way too. He asked me, why did I want to join the Navy? Why do you seem to love what you do so much? And I smiled at him, and I pointed at aircraft carrier, using it as an example. And I explained to him how the 4,000 to 5,000 souls that call that ship home, when we're deployed, I said, we don't care what color you are, where you're from, none of that matters. When we're deployed, we are brothers and sisters. And that camaraderie cannot be explained. It can only be felt. And I said, I've always loved just, the sheer, amazement in my mind was the first time I ever stood beside one. Because you got to think, that's like a floating city. There are 5 acres of flight deck on top of that ship. 5 acres. And it's, trucking down the ocean at 60 knots. 80 miles an hour for layman's terms. That's just, anyway. I said, I said, my heart feels full for serving a purpose far greater than I could ever be. And I didn't realize how much he would take that to heart. I had no idea then. Before I lose my place, he never joined the military, but he went even further than what. Let's see. He took that sense of service even further than I did, because just a few years later, he joined the City of Morristown Fire Department as a full-time firefighter. He's still working there today, more than 25 years later. But he went even further than that. For nearly a decade now. That's hard. As Pastor Sharon can probably tell you, my mama ever so often on a Sunday afternoon, a family's got to get together at her place. But we never have my baby brother there, because he and his wife have dedicated almost their entire Sunday to teaching and guiding their children of their church. His wife is currently one of the 3rd grade teachers at Cornerstone Christian School in Morristown. I could not be more proud of my baby brother, Brandon Snyder, who's now a lieutenant with the Morristown Fire Department, because his selfless servant's heart has saved more lives than I ever have. Both, not just in this physical life as a firefighter, but in eternal life with Christ Jesus. That's, Brandon, I don't know if you'll see this, brother, but happy 48th birthday, man. You have no idea how proud I am of you or how much I love you. Anyway. And who would have thought? He's not in here to laugh about it, but we were like hoodlums back then, back in the teenage years. So who would have thought back then? Anyway, that all 3 of us would be serving the Lord. Yeah. But I know that was the heart's desire of both you and my mama. Now, while sermon after sermon could be preached about the biblical heart of a servant and how, think about it, it's the only type of leadership that God promotes in His Word. Think about it. How many times did Jesus say, whoever wants to be first must be last? If you want to be above all, then first you must be the slave of all. That was Jesus' exact words. Today we're going to touch on a different subject that is also connected with servanthood, and that one that many Christians today, myself included, are lacking. And we haven't talked about it enough, really. We're going to go to Romans chapter 12, verse 1. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. A little short verse, but there's a lot of weight to it. Notice those last 4 words, folks. True and proper worship. Too many Christians think worship is just confined to what we do here at church when we sing his praises together. Do they not? That's the first thing that comes to most people's mind when they think of worship. But the truth is far from that. Worship is the very purpose for which we were created. And I'm not going to get into it because it did start a whole nother sermon, but you're welcome to study Isaiah chapter 43. That's basically the Lord speaking to the prophet Isaiah, talking about how he made us for himself, to bring him glory. Some of y'all may remember in my previous sermons that I spoke about humans are like a mirror. We tend to reflect what is around us. Do we not? Whatever we put in front of us is what we end up reflecting. We absorb it. Worship is much the same way. Whatever we focus on in our daily life becomes what we worship. If we worship possessions, we become materialistic. We worship money, we become greedy. We worship power, we become corrupt. But if we worship the Lord Jesus Christ, we become like him, which is exactly what he wants. It's exactly what he wants. Paul, this is let me back up a little context. This is the Apostle Paul writing to the Christians in the Church of Rome, the Roman Church. Now, notice this is chapter 12. He's already written 11 prior chapters that he's basically illustrating and expounding on the mercies of God. But here it's like a kind invitation from a pastor's heart. But the mercies that he's explained in the previous 11 chapters are the kind of mercies that find us when we're weak. They wash us when we're weary. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about the song, how his mercy never fails us, and the goodness of God. That his grace and his mercy have a way of finding us in the in-between. Between loads of laundry, between long lines at the store, between emails and running errands, in my case, between the things that we wish we could get fixed and the faith that tells us that God is still at work. Think about it. If you're feeling thin today or worn out, stretched, stressed, or just being overwhelmed by life, take a breath. You are loved. The truth is, you are loved by a God who isn't looking for polish. He's looking for presence. He is here. He always has been, and he always will be. Now, do the words "more than conquerors" ring a bell? We are more than conquerors. Or how about this one? Neither neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither the present nor future, neither height nor depth, nor anything else in all of creation will be able to separate us from the love of God. That's Paul wrote that in Romans chapter 8, both of those. He's elaborating on some of the mercies that God has given us. And then, like a shepherd who knows his sheep by name, Paul leans in and says, and I'm going to do the King Jimmy version. He says, "I beseech you." Here it says, in NIV it says, "I urge you." In King James it says, "I beseech you." And then where it says, in view of God's mercy, in King James it says, "by the mercies of God." Think about the power just of that phrase. Mercy moves us. Mercy motivates us. Mercy makes worship more than a Sunday song. It becomes a Monday mindset, a tenderness on Tuesday, and even a Wednesday witness. Worship is not trapped behind a microphone or tucked inside the songs that we sing up here. lost my place again. Worship, real worship, has calluses. It has calendars. It has many different facets. It looks like forgiveness at a dinner table or integrity at your desk at work. It looks like patience in traffic. I have a hard time with that. And kindness in a irritated crowd. It looks like a people who say, Lord, all of this is yours. All of me is yours. That's what it means to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice. All of your heart, all of your mind, and all of your body, not just your body. This is a sacred exchange. That's what most people in human tendency is like, but I don't want to give up me. They don't understand. It's a sacred exchange. In exchange for giving yourself, you get so much more. The altar of God is not a place of loss. It is a place where life gets larger, where love grows, where hope rises, where joy finds its voice. Think about the joy of the Lord is my strength. From that altar, transformation begins to bloom. When we fully present ourselves to God, He shapes us. He teaches our hearts new habits. He tunes our minds into His music. As He transforms us, fruit begins to appear. Does it not? Quiet, steady, beautiful fruit. Like love in the face of impatience. Words that build up instead of tear down. That's how a transformed life produces fruit that feeds hungry hearts all around us. And we all know hearts that need that. The world needs that, but our place is we start right here in this community. That's where the Lord placed us here. So let me ask you this. What if your commute became a chorus instead? Think about it. I like singing because I don't know how the best way to put this. There are people that tell me they loved hearing my voice. I ain't one of them. I do not like hearing my voice singing. I'm like, I prefer if I sing by myself when I'm driving to and from work, and I was sing then. People want me singing in front of them, like, that's what you call a joyful noise. I can whistle. Thanks to my mama, I can whistle really well, but that's no, not singing. Think about it. What if your home, messy shoes, dirty laundry, stacked dishes, all of it, all became an altar where gratitude rises like incense that He loves. Think about it. What if every breath, every task, every conversation was offered up? Lord, this is all for you. That is worshiping with your whole life. That is the beauty of a living sacrifice. It's the harvest of transformation. And He says to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice. But here Paul isn't just keeping his faith in clouds. He is speaking to flesh and bones, to lungs and lips, to habits and tasks. Bring your whole self to God is what Paul is saying. Bring what you do with your hands at work. Bring how you speak in the kitchen or in the break room at work. I know a lot of people that, here at church, they'd say one thing, and in the break room at work, it's a whole different person. I've been guilty of that myself. Bring how you treat your eyes when something is presented to them that is harmful to your soul. bring what you post and what you type. Everybody's got a phone, in their hand. And I got a Reddit up there. It's always on some type of social media. And anyway, bring the way you carry stress on your shoulders. I've seen that firsthand too. Just people get like my boss, bless his heart. I don't think anybody puts more effort into their job than he does. But I've had people like they would automatically assume that he's older than me. The truth, I ain't. Nope. They're like, but he looks. I said, I know. He's carried his stress a whole lot worse than I have. Bless his heart, But you can tell that. Bring the way you enter a room. Say to the Lord, this is yours. All of this is yours. That means errands can be loved. Running errands can carry love. It means that study can be honest for the students. It means that whatever you craft with your hands is meant for care, not for clicks or praise or whatever. It means your voice can be used to build up, not break down. It means that your time is not random, it is divinely placed. When the body is offered, worship is no longer just a small slice of the week like here. It runs throughout every day, through the morning and through the night. It reshapes every facet of your life. Chores, meetings, exercises, planning, caregiving. It becomes visible in your calendar, in your tone of voice. God is honored in the concrete of daily life, not only in the quiet. When you present your body, your space becomes a place of praise. Paul's line here in Romans 12:1 gives shape to a life that sings, not your voice that sings, but a life that sings outside of church service. It shows how worship can fill errands, meetings, classes, and even quiet evenings. It shows how praise keeps going even when the music stops. It's not a new task. I don't know about y'all, but I do that a lot. When sometimes at work, I just I get some of these songs like "Goodness of God" was stuck in my head not even 3 or 4 days ago at work. People be asking me, well, we got this down and that down and that. And everybody's like, why are you smiling? I got a song playing in my head. Yeah, but I lost my place again. This verse opens I've got my words stripped up here. It opens on grace. It says, in view of God's mercy. King James says, because of God's mercies. It starts with kindness. It's not that we didn't deserve any of that. And Paul's point is, God gave us these mercies before we ever came to him. He's already shown us his kindness. That line is the engine, the very engine of it. Mercy is God seeing our need and moving toward us. Think of a pardon that clears your record. It means a lot whenever you spent time in jail. I know. Think of a welcome that firmly sets you into a family. I don't know, if y'all have seen it, but I've seen many of foster kids be overwhelmed with joy when they finally get a permanent, real home. I've lost my place. Think of that help that comes when you're at the end of yourself. Let that memory stay with you. But remember what Jesus said, cast your cares on me. Right, he cares for that. So when you give it all to him, when you offer your entire self, your cares to him too. So your cares become his cares. Name those past cares out loud. Tell that story to your own heart. Remind it of it, so that you will be reminded of what the Lord done for you. I was heard, was carried, I was forgiven, and I was kept. When mercy is near, duty doesn't feel heavy at all. Gratitude warms your cold hands. Trust grows. Prayers start sooner, and complaints get far fewer. The day still may feel full, but your soul does not feel burdened by it. We give ourselves to God not to earn favor, but because we already have it. He's already given it to us. We want to obey, not to climb to him, but because he came near to us. It keeps worship steady when we feel strong and when we feel worn out and thin. The appeal centers on, and what Paul's appeal here centers on mercy, so that no one is pushed to pretend. Mercy lets you come as you are and still move forward. He says, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice. Offer is a clear act. You stand before him and you hand him exactly what he asked for. Your body, but more than your body. It's the real you that gets tired, hungry, worried, hurried, hopeful, you name it. You bring it to him, all of it. Hands become part of your prayer. Your hands will carry groceries. They fold laundry. They lift in praise too. Eyes become part of the prayer. They look with compassion. They turn away from things that harm their soul. The mouth, your mouth becomes part of the prayer. Words bless, words confess, they encourage, and they speak truth. Silence also becomes part of the prayer. Be still and know that I am God. Feet become part of the prayer. They walk toward need instead of away from it. They stand firm when pressure comes. When you have done all you can do, stand. The offering is concrete. You can schedule it. You can speak it even. Lord, my eyes are yours. My mouth is yours. My feet are yours. My hands are yours. The altar then is no longer far away. It is right there where you're at. It meets you right where you're breathing. The sacrifice is placed, arranged, and given. Living, remember he says living sacrifice. Those sacrifices weren't living once the sacrifice was made. But the living means your breath still moves, your prayers still rise, and service still continues. Your whole life stays available on the altar. Think of the altar fire that stayed lit in Israel's worship in the Old Testament, in the tabernacle and then later in the temple. Wood was always added, ashes were always cleared, the flame did not go out. Your offering is tended in the same steady way. Return to the altar daily. Keep the flame supplied. It shapes how you respond to interruptions. I know everybody has their own version, but that drives me nuts at work. Okay, I've got these 12 projects I got to work on. Okay, this one's coming up the closest, so I got to work. Hey, we got, these 15 machines broke down. Interruptions. But it's the nature of the beast. If they didn't have them, they wouldn't need me. That's why I look at it. But you pause and you ask, how can this moment be offered, Lord? It shapes how you carry success. You praise the praise that people give you on his altar. Now, I couldn't do it without you, Lord. That's what I have to say daily. You place his praise that people give you on his altar rather than, storing it away, padding your own prideful heart, you learn to rest as an act of trusting in Him and rise again to serve Him. Living also means growth. Think about it. Muscles tend to grow when they are used, do they not? And they're not used, they wither. Habits also grow with repeated choices. You build small, faithful movements that help keep the sacrifice present. A verse whispered here, a prayer whispered there. Make that choice. A practice yes whenever someone needs or the need appears. And this, my brothers and sisters, is living a life of true worship. Let's all strive to live this life together as His beloved children. I want to close with, I know it won't show up as red letters here on the screen, but it would be red letters in the Gospel of John chapter 4, verses 23 and 24. The words of our Lord and Savior Himself. He's talking to the Samaritan woman at the well. But the hour is coming and is now here when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth. Can you keep in mind this part of his sentence? For the Father is seeking such people to worship Him. God is spirit, and those who worship Him must worship in spirit and truth. Does anyone need prayer?